Okay, so we're here. Why do I keep saying that? We are here. I'm here with Brenda, and and you were at the last weekend seminar, and just I fell in love with you. Just getting to know you on a deeper level, and all of your contributions on the forum that we were just talking about before we started recording. It just feels really good to have your energy around, and I just wanted to get on Skype with you and kind of get your thoughts on the weekend in general. And I know you're going to be coming back from Canada, flying down from Canada to help staff, and that's just it blows me away, and I'm just really excited. So just having a laid back chat with you about all of that, and I'm excited.
Oh my God, I'm counting the days until I can go tell everyone I know that I'm going.
Yeah, I noticed you're like, it seems like you're being a whole lot more open about having herpes. Like, it seems like on the even on Facebook, I'm seeing you starting to post things. What has that path been like for you? Because it hasn't always been like that.
No, it hasn't. I think the weekend really opened that up for me. Like, I was a little more private about it. There was, still a shame around it and that kind of thing. But now, for me, it's like, this is who I am. This is who I really am. And it's just, I think if I'm okay with it and I'm comfortable with it, it creates a space for other people to be okay with it and comfortable with it. And I think the more that I can just talk about it, as a matter of fact, like, hey, I have herpes, or I have diabetes, or I have whatever, I think it creates sort of a space for people to think about it. Because I'm sure at first when I mention it, especially people who don't know me well, are like, wow, I can't believe you're sharing that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes people are uncomfortable with it. But most of the time I find people are just like, cool. And I tell them, I'm going for the weekend, and it was such an amazing experience, and there's so much healing going on, and it wasn't about herpes, but that's why we were there, kind of thing. And so I could open up that dialogue, and I think it creates a space for people to be more understanding, and I think maybe, I don't know, I guess I just like people to just think a little bit.
I love that you when you first said, this is me. I don't actually see that as like, hey, this is herpes and herpes is me. It's almost like you're saying this is me on a deeper level, like my openness, my vulnerability, my willingness to be more open with people. This is me. And it's almost like the shame and the stigma around herpes is kind of the doorway to you just showing that part of yourself, not necessarily showing herpes. Herpes is like, it's a virus, it's not a big deal. But the amazing thing that you're showing is this openness and vulnerability. And you know what? Yeah, there's a stigma around it, and I'm going to talk about it anyway.
Yeah, and I think it's just that vulnerability, and I think when people see that in me, they feel more comfortable in sharing many times with me about themselves, but also I think it just opens up a place within their heart, right? When they see someone else being vulnerable, and when they know that they don't have to be, and they know it's got to be scary for someone to say, hey, I have herpes, and this is who I am, and it's not only who I am, but this is part of who I am. But sort of sharing sort of that darker side, because we all have parts of ourselves that we don't really feel comfortable sharing with other people.
Yeah.
And so when you can do that, I think that
I don't have any of those parts.
I'm sure, because you're perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure everyone watching this video doesn't have any of those parts either. Like,
absolutely not. I'm sure I'm the only one.
But I love the courage that it takes for that. And I imagine too that some people watching this video might think, oh, well, gosh, I'm not ready for that. I'm not going to tell anyone that I have herpes. Like, that's too much. And what I want to say is that there are many different ways of going about accepting yourself.
Oh,
right?
yeah. And I mean, this didn't happen overnight. I didn't,
great.
Like, the first day I had herpes, hey, everybody had herpes. It's like, oh my God, my life is over. So this has been a process.
Great. Yes. Talk about that process. So how long ago did you first get herpes?
I've had it for many years, but I only found out for sure about a year and a little bit ago.
So it's a pretty new thing, really.
Yeah, it's been just over a year.
In the scheme of things.
Yeah.
Talk about that process, like when you first got it all the way up until now and more or less acceptance.
Yeah.
What does
when
that
I first got it, my life is sort of just one of those things where everything happens all at once. So my son moved out and went to university, and so that part of my life was sort of changing. And then a month later, my husband and I broke up, and that was a shock because it happened in 2 weeks. And then a month after that, I found out I had herpes.
Yeah.
So I thought my life was pretty much done. As far as dating, I thought, great, I'm divorced and I have herpes. So awesome, I'm a catch. And
yeah.
So it was devastating. At first, it was really devastating, and then I'm the type of person who says, "Look, I got to reach out to other people. I got to see this. I can't be the only one on this planet going through this, right?" So I went on to some other forums and started talking to some people there. Some of those were kind of depressing, and you kind of want to quit your life when you're done, but it was good to just connect with other people who were sort of in the same thing. Then I went on a cookie dating site, and that was awful. And
what was awful about it?
I don't know. I guess maybe it was just I wasn't ready. It was to be partly because I wasn't ready. It was just I was freshly separated, right, and vulnerable and hurting. So I probably attracted people who were attracted to that hurt part of me. So that was probably part of my experience. I also learned some hard lessons on a scammer while I was on there. So that was part of my journey. It was interesting. So that part of it was, then I realized I really needed to stop and heal. And so I took some courses, some online courses, one through the Swap Institute, and it was a 12-week sort of transformation course. It was awesome. It really got me in touch with my values, my feelings, some of my story, got me in touch with those painful parts of myself. Then I took another course called Calling in the One, and it was awesome. It was a 6-week course, and basically went through what parts I played in the relationships that I was in, what my story is, how that plays out in my life, how to become a good partner. So it had nothing to do with herpes. It had everything to do with me, but herpes is travel. And then shortly after that, I went to the a.k.a. Opportunity, and that was completely blew the doors off my world. It was an amazing experience. I didn't know what to expect. I thought I was going to be like just one about herpes, just learn how to deal with living with herpes, and it was nothing like that.
Surprise!
But it was like being as close to the divine as you can possibly be. It was a weekend of absolute unconditional acceptance and love and healing. And I came away from that. It took me a week to kind of get back into the real world again. I was a bit disoriented. And I missed everyone terribly. But I came away with so much personal growth and healing. And that is when I came to a point in my life where I could really start to share my journey with other people. And I can share who I am, really am, and reach out to other people and try and help them.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. So, I mean, it really points to it being a journey. I think that the kind of person who would be watching the video now who might be in the depths of shame where you started your story off, where you started the process off, might assume that, oh, well, now Brenda's here. Well, I need to just be there. I just need to get over this thing called herpes and just be open about it, or just get over it and be accepting of it. And it is a process, and the process is to be honored.
absolutely.
Even
And to
even the
honor
sadness.
yeah, to honor that scared part of you and that hurt part of you and that part of you that wants to reject everything about you because you have herpes and how awful it is. To just really, I think the biggest thing I learned was to be able to sit with it, with myself. And also one of the things I learned watching in the processing weekend was other people who were processing and there were tears. And instead of saying, oh, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, they just sat with them. And they just let them cry and supported them. And for me, that was huge. Mm. It was absolutely beautiful and absolutely huge for me because I learned to do that with both myself and with other people. And I've had a friend going through a really rough time, and I was able to sit with her. Instead of trying to make her feel better, I just sat with her and I put my hand in her arm and I said, "You're safe." And it was so healing for her. Yeah. And to offer that. That was me.
I am in awe of you.
Oh.
Just for you to have moved from such a place of despair and shame into a year later being able to support someone else in the depths of pain. What a turnaround. Like what the term that I know of is wounded healer. It's like it seems that since you have gone through the depths of your own version of deep pain and sorrow, it's like you get to understand others on a deeper level that are going through a similar kind of life experience.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you feel their pain, but you can help them. You know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and you know that they can get through it. And so it's almost like giving them a guide. It's like, you don't have to stay here. You know, I'll help you through it.
In fact, the only way to move through it is to be with it. It's ironic because the more we want to move past it and just get over it, the more it lingers. And it's I mean, the metaphor that comes to mind is like a stale fart in the air. It's like if we're trying to get, like, there's something, like, it may not be like a complete stench, but it's in the background, and it's just like, oh no, I'm moving past it. Oh, something stinks, but no, I'm moving past it. It's like, man, just sit with whatever is, even if it stinks. Sit with it and the emotion of it, like to allow yourself to really feel what is true for you. And especially if it's sadness, especially if it means crying, it's so unfortunate that our culture doesn't know how to be with crying. Like,
I know.
For the most part, it seems to be an uncomfortable thing that when people see someone crying, like you said, their urge is to be like, oh no, it's okay, no, stop crying, no, here's a tissue, stop crying, and it's almost like it's because all of us on a certain level are uncomfortable with the feelings that it brings up in us when someone else is very sad. So to actually really sit with it and let the emotion move.
And the thing is, you get stuck in your body, right? You get stuck in yourself. It's like, I look at it like a river. It's like, if you just let it flow, it just comes and it goes. But if you dam it up, it just sits there, right? And you're going to have
stagnated.
To feel it eventually. Yeah. So if you just sit with it, no feeling is permanent. So if you let it sit, that too shall pass. And then another feeling comes. You just let it flow through you. Just like a river.
Nice. What was it, like, without kind of giving away any of the details of the weekend, right? Because it's like it's a very unique experience for each person who goes through it. So it's really hard to explain what it's about, right? You know, I do my best to try to, explain it, but there's only so much I can explain. What was it, like, what were your main takeaways for yourself, like messages to yourself that you got from the weekend?
I think for me, initially there was some exercises that I felt really uncomfortable with because in my mind I have to do things right, and there has to be a right way to do it. And there were some that I were uncomfortable with because I didn't feel like I was doing it the right way. So that was good because I had to be uncomfortable. and other people were getting all these aha moments. And I'm a life coach, and damn it, I should get this. I'm not.
Yeah.
So that was good. The being that total acceptance, because not everyone in the room had herpes, and at first I was really uncomfortable with that.
Mm.
That was a trigger for me. Like, wow, because I automatically then went into people are going to judge me. And so sitting with that and having them love me and accept me. And I know there was one exercise where we were in the room and we had to say that we have herpes. And I'm thinking, okay, whatever. Wow, yeah. For me, that was really powerful because as I stood there, I felt really raw and vulnerable. And then I felt love. And it opened my heart. And it really, I think that was the point that started all the healing for me.
Mm.
It was sort of gradual, but that was sort of that point moment, I guess, for me. And then just watching other people becoming vulnerable and sharing their stories and allowing themselves to be transparent to the group was amazing. Because as we spent the weekend together, we became more comfortable. At first, everybody started, and we don't know each other. But as the weekend went on, we became more comfortable with each other and supportive of each other and loving of each other. And that was amazing. And I think just seeing everybody's unique experience of that weekend, because not one person had the same experience. It was all very, very personal. And we all did the same exercises, and yet for each of us, it was very personal.
Yeah.
Which is really neat to see. And so I got something from every single person's experience. I had a takeaway from each person's take of that weekend. Each person's experience of that weekend enriched my experience of that weekend. And I learned and I grew from what they from.
Isn't that fascinating? Because, I imagine if we did this weekend and it was maybe just me and you probably would have gotten something out of it, but it's a very different experience to be having a group experience. And it's almost like I'm reminded of like the Wizard of Oz, like at the end when she's like looking around at each of the characters and like, wow, you've been with me the entire time. Like each one of you is kind of a piece of me. And that's how I know I was feeling that throughout the whole weekend. I recognized pieces of myself as if each one of the participants and the staff members too, everyone in the weekend was just mirrors of little facets of myself.
Absolutely, yeah. I had people come up to me and say, this really, what you said here really resonated for me on this part. And there was other people that were in the room and they were sharing some of the same stuff that I was struggling with. It was all like we were all this big tapestry and we were all part of it, right?
Yeah.
We all needed to be there in order for it to be complete.
Nice. Yeah, I love I just love this work and this kind of togetherness, and almost like these kinds of weekends as being a training ground for how the world in general could be.
Yeah.
It was like a playground for what is it like to be me? What is it like to be okay and fully accept who I am in the moment? What is that like? What is the felt sense of that? Because if I ask any one of the participants and anyone who went through the weekend, I know that plenty of staff people walk away from the weekend like, holy shit, I'm transformed myself just by helping staff. And if I ask them, like, sum up your experience, like what is the message for yourself? And by and large, it's the most simple, like third grade language. It's like, well, I just really got that I'm okay. Or, yeah, I just really got the feeling of what it means to just, I'm lovable. And I know that I'm lovable.
Yeah,
and it's like those cliche, like what sound like cliche kinds of statements are very different once you actually experience them on a felt level.
absolutely.
Then it doesn't just become you saying, yeah, you know, I'm lovable. Like you look in the mirror and like, I'm lovable, damn it. And it comes from that kind of a place of like, well, I should feel like I'm lovable, so I'm going to say that I'm lovable. And it's very different after you come away with a true experience, especially in a group environment where you get something on a deep level. You can really say from that place in you that might have doubted it before, wow, I am lovable.
And to experience that from other people, like that deep sense of loving you, just the way you are, it was at a soul level. It was, wow.
And you had such an experience that you just got to come back and staff the very next seminar.
You can't keep me away.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh.
I'm coming back. I don't care if you want me or not.
Oh, we want you. Trust me, we want you. Yeah, I'm excited. Anything else about the weekend or specifically maybe like since the weekend? I mean, it's been, gosh, don't make me do math. How long has it been since the last one? January.
So it's middle of January that I came out.
Yeah, so a few months now.
Yeah.
How has it been integrating all of this into your real world life?
I think I'm a lot more accepting of myself. I'm a lot more open. I've learned how to be more genuine with other people. And just calmer. I think I've had people comment, like, you're just so much calmer, just kind of even. And just accepting of, you know, I'm going to have moments where I'm like all over the place, but just sit with it. Sit with it. And I've tried a whole bunch of new experiences. I've done Nidra, and I've done meditation, I've done Kundalini yoga, you know, like I've just opened myself up to a whole bunch of different things which has been interesting. So I really enjoyed that.
I'm getting the image of like a blossoming, and it's like, oh, it's that that quote from Anais Nin is coming to mind. Do you know that? Do you have it memorized? And then the time had come where the risk that it took to stay all wrapped up tightly in a bud was more painful than the risk that it took to blossom. Something like that. And it seems like a lot of people in this herpes situation, especially when we first get it, the stigma is so heavy that it actually does feel safer to just stay all wrapped up tightly in the bud and be safe, because I need to protect myself from being judged by the outside world. And some of that, I hate to admit it, some of that is actually true. There is going to be judgment out there.
Oh, absolutely. There is. That's the reality.
And you're going to get judgment whether you have herpes or not. That's the kicker.
Judgment no matter what, whether you're too tall or whether you're too heavy or whether you're too whatever, right? People are going to judge you.
Yeah.
And herpes is another thing they judge you for.
And there's a whole other side of it too, that there's the reality of people possibly judging you out in the real world, you know, if you admit that you have herpes. And then there's the other part of it where it is just a bullshit story that we're making up. Where we might actually think that every single person in the whole wide world is going to judge us and spit on us and like all the worst possible like reactions that we could possibly think up and run the other way.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case. So there comes this point where it seems that it is more painful to stay safe because we're closing ourselves off from so much opportunity and experience. And it sounds like with you, it's like that blossoming that started to take place when you started doing these self-development things. Mm-hmm. It's that blossom is opening, and now it's like, oh, I have so much more available in my life.
Oh, yeah.
I have so much more that I want to do and so much more life that I want to live. And maybe there's more of a risk of blossoming sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And there's more of a risk of staying closed. But it feels good to hear you living your life like you are.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I stayed safe and tried to, for a long, long time, and this is sort of giving me permission, I think, to finally just say, you know what, I'm not going to live forever. I need to do what is good and authentic for me, right? I need to use my gifts. I need to go there and really be who I am, genuinely who I am, and not be afraid of, because people are always going to judge you, no matter who you are, whether you're Mother Teresa or whether you're, people judge you. And that's okay. It's not about you, it's about them. When they're judging you, it's about them.
And for every judgment that we get, there's like 3 to 5 times more of the amount of people who will accept or be like, wow, thank you for your vulnerability. Wow, yeah, here's something that I'm struggling with. And connection will come from that. So it's almost like we focus on maybe the 10% of it that where we're going to get that judgment, or that person's not going to like us or whatever, and we forfeit that 90%.
Oh my God,
possibility.
My world's enough that I've gotten to know so many more people as a result of having herpes. My social life has taken off. I mean, the Herpes Opportunity weekend. I met so many wonderful people there. People on the forum. Our local group is getting together tomorrow for a polling. And I have opening for social life now.
So those commercials on TV, like about the medication and everything, maybe they don't have it so far off, because people are outside, like enjoying their life, going whitewater rafting and jumping into the ocean, and yeah, it's fun. It's fun having herpes. Huh? But yeah, I'm just I love that moment where the courage to blossom kind of takes over, and I remember that moment for myself where it was like, you know what, this is scary, and I'm noticing that the fear is also excitement.
Yeah.
Whoa, I'm actually going to do something scary, which means that a change is on the horizon. We all inherently, as a human species, as an animal species, we fear change because safety will keep us alive. But there's also this visceral experience of, whoa, change is on the horizon, especially when I'm kind of living the life that's not true to me right now. Change is actually exciting. So there's a moment that when if whoever is watching this video right now, and you may be at that point or near that point of saying, I know there's something else out there, but that's scary. Actually, maybe look at that fear a little bit deeper and really get curious about what is in that fear. Maybe there is actually excitement for change, and maybe you are ready to start looking at your life in a different way and looking at what you're capable of in a different way.
Yeah, I was going to say, for each one of us that came to that weekend, every single one of us were afraid. We all said that we weren't sure what we were getting into, and we were all afraid, and we were like, oh my God, what am I getting into? What am I doing? And I don't know, and there was a lot of us who even the last minute, what the hell am I doing? Maybe I should just cancel. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't go to this thing. Like, why would I open myself up to this? So each one of us, all of us, I think it was, 9 of us or something? 8 of us, 9 of us? We all said the same thing. So if you're thinking, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this, then you're normal. This is part of it, because it's that excitement of, oh my God, maybe if I go here, maybe something great is going to happen. But I don't know what it is, so maybe I shouldn't do it. So just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
That's the most loving command that I've ever heard. Just do it. It reminds me of what the definition of courage is. A lot of people assume that being courageous means not feeling fear. And that's actually not it at all. Being courageous is actually fully experiencing fear and doing it anyway. And that's where all of the energy is. That's where all the energy is trapped up if we don't follow that. And that's where all the energy gets released, and it transforms into all these beautiful things, and inspiration and self-acceptance and self-confidence and self-love, when we're actually willing to be courageous, feel that fear of what the change might be, and do it anyway. And whether that means, like, you know, obviously I would, you know, I'm a little biased of, you know, anyone coming to the weekend, right? I think there's a lot of amazing value that's in the weekend, and for some people, maybe it's actually taking the step and just, like, if this is a new diagnosis, or if you've even had it for a while and you haven't told anyone, maybe the first real, like, I'm scared shitless moment would be to just, like, call your mom and say, hey, you know how I've been really sad lately and I haven't told you what's up? Like, I have something to share with you. Maybe that's your edge of fear / excitement to open, to start blooming, to start blossoming that flower. And maybe the next step for you is to go to an in-person support group and hop off of the online forum and go to a space where everyone in the room has herpes, and what that's like for you. You know, I remember, yeah. What was that like for you when you first joined an in-person support group?
It was great because, you know, we all got together and we all knew that we had herpes, right? There was none of that, and we could just talk about it casually. I mean, we could kind of get feedback from each other. We could joke about it. We do a lot of joking about it. Yeah. Because we can. Yeah. In that environment, right? And we've talked about, you know, what the first outbreak was like, and, you know, how you deal with it, and it just feels so normal. Like, that's what everyone on our group says. It just feels so normal. In that moment when you guys are together, you can just be, and there's no pretense, and there's no hiding behind, we don't have to hide anything from each other. And that's really freeing.
Because when it comes down to it, it's a frickin' skin rash, people.
It is.
It's a skin rash.
People with cold sores don't walk around, you know, feeling like the whole world is against them. I always get angry when I see someone with a cold sore. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Just walk around.
Well, I actually just read an article just recently, and I just reposted it on the blog. And it was about the way that the stigma for herpes came around. There wasn't any stigma for herpes, for genital herpes, or cold sores for that matter, before 1975. There just wasn't, because the company who created the herpes medication had this drug that got rid of this thing called herpes that nobody knew about or even cared about. So they started putting out ads saying, hey, do you have this highly stigmatized, you know, rash down there? Well, you need to take our medication so you can get rid of that. And that's where the stigma came from. It came from, you know, advertising so that a company could sell its drugs. As far as this article was saying, and I saw a few other articles that were pointing to the same thing, and it makes sense, because, you know, when it comes down to it, rationally, we can be like, dude, it's just a skin rash, I don't understand it. But then on a cultural level, apparently a lot of people are freaking out about it. It's something that we need to be really concerned with, but it's not anything that's going to kill us. But so there's like these two different sides of it. So consider that if you're really deep in the shame, that you might have been sold something, right? You might have been sold a way of thinking and a way of believing that isn't your actual belief. Yeah. It was just implanted into your head. It's like almost like injected into your head, and it's not actually true.
It is. It's a skin rash. And, you know, when you live with it for a while, it's just a minor inconvenience. Seriously. Like having the flu or getting a cold.
And it's an opportunity for us, if there is a lot of shame in that it might not actually be about the herpes. And that's what a lot of the weekend is about too, is to start separating the simple virus that we have in our bodies from the natural shame that we might have around either our sexuality or who we are in general, like all of the self-judgments that we may have about ourselves, that herpes just tends to like a magnet pull up to the surface, or like the magnifying glass, like make all of these things that have always been inside of us that much bigger and that much more real seeming. And when we can actually really look at that with acceptance and in a group environment of acceptance as well, then that's when really true deep healing takes place.
Yeah, and I think it just brings up stuff that you have not wanted to deal with, but when you get herpes, then all of it comes to the surface. So it may be like a catalyst of healing, really, but it's uncomfortable. It's overwhelming, I think, at first, when all of your stuff comes flying at you like bats out of a cage.
It's like, oh my gosh. Someone on the forum just today posted something, and I haven't been able to reply back, but the title of it is, I Just Want to Die. And I remember feeling like that like when I first got it, I remember feeling suicidal. And there's a part of me that, oh my gosh, my heart just goes out to that. And there's a part of me that's like, really? Really? Like, can the stigma be that powerful that it's going to have us consider killing ourselves? Like, no. I want to immediately rectify that belief that no, this is an opportunity that especially if that kind of a thought is coming up to that extreme, there's a whole lot to actually look at inside of ourselves and be okay with, and use it as like you said, like a catalyst, like rocket fuel to propel us into our self-acceptance and to propel us into changing into the life that we live. And it's not really changing us at our core. It's almost like shedding those layers that we've been kind of putting over top of ourselves to reveal the true us. And all of that shame can actually be that rocket fuel to just explode those layers off and just be raw in the world, as raw as we feel comfortable with.
It's just being our genuine self, and just accepting who we are and what we are, like not what we aren't, but who we are.
Yes.
And focusing on who we really are. And I think when you focus on the positive, you bring out more of that, right? As opposed to focusing on what you aren't and all the bad things. There's no purpose to that.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. I love that. Yeah, what we focus on does become bigger.
Yeah.
All of these cliches really make sense once you start plugging them into what's going on in our lives now.
Absolutely, yeah. And I see a girlfriend go through a bad time, and her ex-husband was telling her all these horrible things about herself, and she was feeling absolutely ugly, and so we had a little chat, and she started looking in the mirror, and she started seeing things about herself that was beautiful. And she said, I never looked at my eyes before. See how beautiful they are. And she thinks, beautiful blue eyes, and she started noticing things about herself that were beautiful, because she was a gorgeous woman. And now she's to the point where she's like, yeah, I am beautiful. And she really gets it now.
Wow.
Whereas a week or two ago, she was almost suicidal. Feeling like the ugliest thing that ever went.
It's that just that we get to decide what we believe about ourselves and what we don't believe about ourselves. And sometimes when we hear it from someone, especially a significant other, there's a part of us that says, wow, they know me. That must be true, that I'm all of those shitty things that person is saying about me. But we forget that there's actually a point at which we get to either accept or deny what they're saying to us, and what the outside world is saying to us, and what the stigma is telling us about herpes and about ourselves. It's like, let's not forget that we actually are the arbiter of our own lives, and a lot of that does have to do with the beliefs that we actually allow in.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we have that voice of someone else, but that's that voice that we carry with us from parents or whatever, right? And so that voice goes off automatically in our head, with a self-judgment voice, and I think it's learning to shut that voice off, or recognizing when it comes up and go, that's true.
Yeah.
is that really true? And then, because it just comes automatically, you don't even think about it. It's not even in your consciousness. But when I think that's part of the weekend is really stopping and going, okay, I'm hearing that voice. Now, is that true? Is that really true? And going, no, it's not actually.
Yeah.
I don't have to believe that. I don't have to think that. I have a choice, like you said. I have a choice whether I'm going to buy into that or I'm going to say, no, that's not right. This is who I am.
Yeah.
And I think it's tripping the wheel.
Yeah. What kind of a life do we end up living when we believe all of the shitty things that could be believed about ourselves? We end up leading that kind of a life. Right, so it's like we have an unlimited amount of beliefs that are at our fingertips that we could grab onto. Which ones are we choosing to put the spotlight on? So it's just, my gosh, you can go down the rabbit hole on this one, and
you can, or you can say,
yeah.
Choosing again.
Yeah. Man, I feel like I could talk to you forever. This is one of those high quality problems of like, oh my gosh, this is so great talking with you, and we got to wrap up. And I really appreciate you coming on, and being with me on YouTube, where other people can see us talking. Yeah. And there is still so much of the hiding that's going on, especially around herpes and anything having to do with shame. Like, the natural part of it is to hide. And when we can come out in the open and put a video up on YouTube and have people watch it and say, yeah, this is who I am. I'm not herpes, but this is who I am, and I happen to be someone with herpes, and I have a whole lot more going for me too. Let me tell you about it. Let me show you. And guess what? You have all of those things going on with you too, whoever's watching this video, right? So it's like, so I appreciate the courage that it takes to come on a video too, and to share yourself publicly like this.
No, it's my pleasure, like you said. And it's not just for herpes, it's just anybody. I think anyone's struggling with issues for themselves. It's not specific to herpes. We can help one person look at themselves and go, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to look at these things differently.
Awesome. Well, do you want to do a Skype hug?
Absolutely. I can hardly wait to do it in person.
Yeah, in a few months. So yeah, I'll see you in July, and I can't wait. Yeah. So take care, and see you soon.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.